Welcome to CE 405 Environmental Engineering 1 Module 5 Part 4. In the previous session, we discussed about the miscellaneous treatments used for treating water. The first miscellaneous treatment was the water softening process, which was the removal of hardness from the treated water. The second removal method is, that is the miscellaneous treatment method, is removal of color, odor and taste from water. The method adopted for removal of these items, that is taste, odors and color from water, are first one the aeration, then second one the absorption, that is the treatment with the activated carbon, then the third one is treatment with the copper sulfate, and then fourth one is treatment with the oxidizing agents. Now we will move on to the first method, that is aeration. The water is brought into contact with the air. That is, the area of contact between the water and air should be increased so that more amount of air should be mixed with the water. This will help to remove the carbon dioxide from water and also the other particulars, that is hydrogen sulfide, etc. from water. And the different methods used for aeration purposes are, the first one is aeration by spray nozzle, then second one cascade aerator, third one air diffusion method, then fourth one the trickling bed method. The aeration process will help in killing bacteria and removing H2S, iron and manganese from treated water. And the first method is aeration by spray nozzles. The water is sprayed with the help of a nozzle and with a high amount of pressure, and the water is converted into droplets. Then the area of contact between water and air will be increased. In this method, the carbon dioxide removal will be up to 90% because it allows maximum area of contact between water droplets and air. And it also permit to escape the dissolved gases, that is like H2S, hydrogen sulfide. The next one is cascade aerator. In this cascade aerator, the water is allowed to fall through a series of steps. Then this water and the air contact will be increased, and the dissolved gases and carbon dioxide will be removed from the water. The removal efficiency is only up to 60 to 70%. This is same as the fountain that we observe in parks and other entertainment areas. And the next method is air diffusion method. In this method, the perforated pipes are inserted in the tank that contains the treated water, and the bubbles of air is allowed to pass through these perforated pipes, and this air will move upwards the tank, and which will mix up with the treated water, and which will remove the dissolved gases and carbon dioxide from the water. Then the next method is trickling bed method. In this, as shown in figure, you can see series of layers are provided, and the water is allowed to fall down through these layers, and these certain perforations are made in each layer, and water will be dropped down through these perforations, and which will be contacted with the air more, and the area of contact will be increased, and air is more get infused into the water, and the carbon dioxide and other diffused gases or dissolved gases will be removed from the water. And in this, this is a total height, that is the total height of a trickling bed will be 1 to 3 meter over a series of steps, that is which will be 3 to 10 layers will be provided, and falling height will be 0.15 to 0.3 meter in each step. And this structure is known as free fall aerator, and which will allow the water to trickle down through these layers or steps provided in the trickling bed. The next treatment is treatment with the activated carbon. Activated carbon is a specially treated carbon which has a property of absorbing the impurities, absorbing gases, and removing taste and odor from water. The activated carbon is used in a powdered form, which is mixed with water, which the water will be passed through this activated carbon layer, and this is provided before or after the coagulation tank, but certainly before filtration. And by doing this process, the activated carbon layer will absorb the impurities and gases and taste and odor from the water. The dosage of activated carbon should be in between 5 to 20 milligram per liter. Then it is the treatment with the copper sulfate, that is CuSO4 7H2O, which helps in removing color, taste and odor from water. The main function is to remove algae from reservoir, and this is added to the distribution system for removing algae. The dosage of copper sulfate is in between 0.5 to 0.65 milligram per liter. And then the treatment with the oxidizing agents. The main oxidizing agents used for miscellaneous treatment of water are the potassium permanganate, chlorine and ozone. The potassium permanganate range vary between 0.05 to 0.1 milligram per liter, and chlorine helps to remove the organic matter. This is the treatment with the oxidizing agents. Then next is the removal of salts. That is the next miscellaneous treatment, that is desalination. In coastal areas, that is around the seashore areas, the groundwater will contain the salt presence, that is sodium chloride presence. The taste will be different, and this water cannot be used in industrial purposes and for concreting and obviously for drinking water purposes. Then we have to treat this water and remove the salt content from this water. This process is known as desalination. There are several methods used for this desalination process, which is listed here. The first one is evaporation and distillation method. Then second one, electrodialysis. Then third one, reverse osmosis. Then fourth one, freezing process. Then next one, solar distillation process. In evaporation and distillation methods, the water is allowed to evaporate and then contains the pure form of water. Then the salt will be deposited on the bed of the evaporation chamber or distillation chamber. Then next method is electrodialysis, and then the reverse osmosis method. This reverse osmosis method is generally used in all water treatment systems. That is the mobile water treatment system that we are using in household activities. And the freezing process that is not commonly used, and the solar distillation. Solar distillation process is also used. That is the common distillation process, that is where the solar power is mostly available places. We can use this solar distillation process. Then next is the electrodialysis. In this electrodialysis process, the electricity passes through the salt solution. then the sodium and chlorine ion will get freed from water and moves to the oppositely charged electrodes. The positively charged sodium ion moves towards the cathode and negatively charged chlorine moves towards the anode. And this will be get caught by using the ion exchange resins, which will be oppositely charged. And these ion exchange resins are placed in between these two electrodes, and when the sodium ion moves towards the cathode, a positively charged ion exchange resin will be placed in the path of these sodium ions, and then it is get caught into these ion exchange resins. Likewise in the case of chlorine. And the setup for electrodialysis consists of cation and anion exchange resin membranes installed in between the pair of electrodes. This is the electrodialysis process. The next is fluoridation and defluoridation. The permissible limit of fluorine, that is fluoride, in the drinking water is 1 to 1.5 milligram per liter. If this fluoride content is less, we have to add fluoride. If this is excess than 1.5 milligram per liter, then we have to remove the fluoride content. The both will be harmful for human health. And addition of fluoride content when it is less than permissible limit is called as fluoridation, and optimum value of fluoride content less than 1 milligram per liter results in dental cavities in children. And this scarcity of fluoride leads to formation of weaker teeth or weaker enamel and reducing hardening of arteries. Compounds used for adding fluoride to water are sodium fluoride, sodium silicofluoride, hydrofluorosilicic acid. These three are the compounds used for increasing the fluoride content in drinking water. Then next is defluoridation. It is removal of excess fluoride from water. The excess fluoride also causes health problems to humans, that is like dental fluorosis, skeletal fluorosis and non-skeletal dental fluorosis. In this dental fluorosis, the teeth are dye-colored. Blackened teeth is the indication of the excess fluorine in drinking water. And the skeletal fluorosis leads to severe or permanent bone deformations. And non-skeletal fluorosis leads to gastrointestinal problem and neurological disorders. Then methods of defluoridation. There are 4 methods. First one is the absorption by activated alumina. This is also called Prashanthi technology. Then ion exchange absorption method. Then Nalgonda technique. Then reverse osmosis process. Then removal of iron and manganese from water. Iron in water may be in ferric or in ferrous form. The permissible limit of iron and manganese are 0.3 and 0.05 milligram per liter respectively. When their content exceed those permissible value, it will cause problems. Particularly the increase in amount of iron will cause an unpleasant smell or taste to water, and it also causes discoloration of clothes due to deposition of red or brown colored oxides of iron and manganese. And it also causes incrustation of water mains, that is a separate layer will be formed inside the water mains, and which will affect the flow of water or efficiency of this water distribution system, and it also makes the unpleasant taste. The first method is aeration. During aeration, soluble iron and manganese compounds oxidized into insoluble iron and manganese, which can be removed by or sedimented out easily. which can be filtered out. The equation is 4Fe plus O2 plus 10H2O gives 4FeOH, 4FeOH thrice plus 8H. For manganese it is 6Mn plus 3O2 plus 6H2O gives 6MnO2 plus 12H. Iron and manganese present in combination, it is difficult to break the bond between them. Bond may be removed either by adding lime or potassium permanganate. Before removing iron and manganese, we have to add lime or potassium permanganate, which will break the bond between iron and manganese. Then we can remove iron and manganese from water easily. When water does not contain large amount of iron and manganese, this can be removed by means of manganese zeolite. That is, the water is passed through the zeolite layer and this iron and manganese will be caught in the zeolite layer, which can be reproduced or reactivated through some processes. And the bed of zeolite will absorb the iron and manganese, and which is oxidized into insoluble hydrated oxides that can be removed by mechanical filtering action. This is a miscellaneous treatment given to water in a water treatment system according to the quality of water or according to the chemical composition or the chemicals present in the water. We have to decide what all miscellaneous treatment are to be taken or done to the water, and which is designed according to the surface water quality, that is the source of water, depending upon the source of water from where we are taking water for water treatment and water distribution system. I hope you all understood this session about miscellaneous treatments. See you in the next session. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.